We took a look at the Shrine Bowl yesterday, and today we're taking a look at the Senior Bowl, another game in which guys have a chance to prove their worth, to improve their draft stock. And there's a number of players that are very intriguing for the next level. You look at some of these players we'll talk about today, they have the chance to either improve their draft stock or some of them even move up a round or two. Now, how they perform in practices and in this game is going to be key to their improvement into elevating their draft stock. And today we take a look at each team and each position at the guys you need to pay attention to and watch at the Senior Bowl. Quarterback was interesting because I couldn't really find which team these quarterbacks were going to be on. So I don't really know what's going on there, trying to reinvent the wheel or something. But two quarterbacks that are really interesting. One, I should say, before I mention these two, Jake Haener is my guy. I think he's a really interesting player, someone who could have a very successful career. But we'll talk about two other guys. Max Duggan is someone who is really capitalizing on a great 2022 season. I think what he was able to do with TCU, that magical run to the college football playoff national championship, was fun to watch. You look at what he's been able to do, his playmaking ability, his heart, and his willingness to compete and never give up is something that's going to stand out. Now you just have to showcase the arm talent. I think that accuracy can be an issue at times, but if he's able to show that he can hit these guys downfield, then you're going to see someone who's going to get a chance from an NFL team. On the other side is going to be Clayton Tune, someone who's very productive for Houston. It's just going to be a matter of how high can he elevate. I think there's accuracy when you're looking at shorter routes, but when you start getting to the deep ball, that's where things get a little bit dicey. He has some mobility that could be an asset for him. It's just going to come down to that accuracy, his ability to throw the football all around the field. Running backs are really interesting. We start with Roshan Johnson. I think if Bijan Robinson wasn't on the same team as Roshan Johnson, we'd be talking about him in maybe a more positive light. Now, there's still a lot to like about him, so it's not like it's a negative thing. It's just that Bijan Robinson stole the spotlight, and it's easy to see why. Roshan Johnson has a good frame. His size and power are really going to help him at the next level. Even his ability to catch the football stood out at times. It's just going to be a matter of can he handle life between the trenches, especially with the pad level that he runs with. His agility to be able to create space for himself is another question. And then on the other side, Kenny McIntosh, I think you look at Georgia and what they did. The running backs weren't a highlight of that offense. Now, the offense did get better as the season went on, and McIntosh did stand out a little bit. And I think he gets a chance to showcase now why he is one of the better backs in this class. The speed and the pass catching really stand out to me. I think that athleticism is really where he's going to get a lot of attention. He's probably going to test well at the pro days, and if he's going to the combine, I think you're going to get a lot of exciting things from him, and that's something that's going to intrigue some team that's looking for a guy who can be a potential 3-down back. Wide receivers are two undersized players, Charlie Jones from Purdue and Tank Dell from Houston. But again, the size is something that's going to be a concern, and that's going to come with injury concerns as well. The things that you're going to be able to see from them, though, are their ability to create space and their quickness and explosiveness in short spaces as well. I think that both are reliable pass catchers. Now, Dell has some drops at times that may be a concern. Charlie Jones's biggest concern is his production. He only had 1 year of producing for Purdue. That's going to be something he's going to have to somehow work around because teams are going to wonder, was it just 1 year and it was the system that you're in, or are you actually going to be a productive player? I think both have a chance to really showcase their talent and elevate their draft stock. And it's going to be fun to see how they handle these different defensive backs in their one-on-one matchup. Two tight ends that are underrated for different reasons. You look at Josh Wiley from Cincinnati. I think he just flew under the radar because Cincinnati didn't feature tight ends in their offense that much. Now, Wiley was the more productive of the two between him and Leonard Taylor, and his size is really going to help him at the next level. His ability to catch the football, even in that limited production, is something that stands out. And then you go to the other side, Luke Musgrave, for many is considered a first-round pick. I think that's it. This is a perfect chance for him to showcase why people think that. You know, we have the film, but this is a chance to go against some of the best players in this NFL draft, and you're going to see someone who can be a reliable pass target. You look at his size. the potential in his game really stands out. There's so much to like about his game, and that's why people are going to pay attention to him. That's why people are going to give him extra looks, and how he does in the Senior Bowl could really dictate where he goes and even push him into that first round. Offensive line was interesting because you had so many options to pick from, and it was really tough to pick just two guys. Blake Freeland stood out as a guy who in the preseason was considered a potential first round pick. And when you watch his game, it's easy to see why. The length really stands out. His frame is really what teams are going to like, and that's really something that's going to help him. And now he gets opportunities to face quality competition once again, showcase that he is a potential first round pick, even if he doesn't go there. I think there's a lot to like in his game. And then on the other side, a guy who flies under the radar because he went to Syracuse, and Matthew Bergeron. Now, Bergeron faced a number of talented players, specifically Miles Murphy from Clemson, and he held his own in those matchups. I think that's something that you really need to pay attention to when you're evaluating his game is how did he do against quality matchups. Now, Murphy did win his fair share of the battles, but you're going to see that when you have a potential top 10 pick going against this guy like Bergeron. So you're going to see some exciting things from him. And now he gets a chance to face more quality competition, just like Freeland. And he gets to showcase that he is not afraid of those big time matchups. And that's something that can add depth or even give you another starter if you're an NFL team looking for help. Flipping over to the defensive side of the ball, at defensive line, KJ Henry, we talked about Miles Murphy. KJ Henry was kind of an afterthought because of how explosive and productive Miles Murphy was. Now, that being said, it's not a bad thing. It just means that you had such a talented off or defensive line at Clemson that it's really tough to stand out. Now, KJ Henry has good length and he knows how to utilize it. It's just a matter of can he handle being a featured guy in that defensive line? I think he has the skill set and a great base to work with. It's just a matter of being able to handle that kind of weight, that kind of responsibility, and the stress that it's going to put on your body. The length is really what's going to stand up. When you flip over to the other team, Isaiah McGuire has the same thing. That length is really what helps him, and it's really what made him into an NFL prospect. He found a way to not only utilize that length, but he found a way to develop as a more well-rounded player. Now, there are some questions about strength and explosiveness with him, but there's still a lot to like. And again, in these one-on-one matchups, we're going to see with the offensive line and defensive line, this is where these kinds of guys can stand out and really help themselves. When we go to linebacker, these are two guys that are this is why I did this. Two guys that are extremely under the radar, underrated players, and they're going to get good opportunities to showcase what they can do. I think Nick Hampton is one of the biggest sleepers in the 2023 NFL draft. And I'm going to do a video on my sleepers for that draft class. And he's going to be one of them because when you look at his game, he has the explosiveness and the length that you're going to love at the NFL level. And I think that because he played for Appalachian State, you're not going to see a lot of guys talking about him because no one really paid attention to him until now. This is the time where he gets to stand out. He gets an opportunity to showcase what he can do, and that's going to be against good competition. So people are going to pay attention. Then you go to the other side, D Winters. Now, D Winters doesn't have maybe the power or the length that you would want in a linebacker, but he is an athletic player with good range. And we saw what he could do in the college football playoff, his ability to make plays, lead TCU's defense. That's going to be huge at the next level. Even if he's a special teams guy, you're going to see someone who's going to be very difficult to get a hold of because he's going to beat his guy to the spot. And that's something that can really help him. Really, it's just about developing into a more well-rounded linebacker, but his ability to be athletic and drop back in coverage or even get to the ball carrier is really what's going to set him apart. At cornerback, you have two guys that are very different, and it's easy to see why. Tyreek Stevenson could be a first-round pick. I've seen some mock drafts where he is going in the first round, and it's easy to see why because of his length, because of his frame. He is a player that is going to play physical. He knows how to utilize his tool, his skill set very, very well. And it's just going to come down to becoming a more well-rounded player and fixing some of those flaws because he has all of those tools that teams are going to like. It's just a matter of putting it all together. Then when you look at Riley Moss from Iowa, not a first round player, or maybe even a day one, day two, could be a day three guy, but his ball skills really stand out. He has been a productive player for Iowa's defense for years now, and his football IQ really stands out. His ability to understand where he needs to be and how to be able to pick off a pass is really what stands out. Now, when you're looking at man coverage, when he's one-on-one, he might not thrive as much, but he's still someone that understands what he needs to do to make plays for the Iowa defense and for in his future NFL team as well. At safety, then you have two guys with good size, very exciting players, very explosive players. And you look at Jamie Robinson from Florida State. I think that he is someone who's flying under the radar because, you look at expectations for Florida State's secondary and they just didn't quite meet them. Still a very, very good group. But I think that maybe they're just flying under the radar a little bit. And there's also a safety class that has some questions. So there's opportunities for people to step up. And this is Robinson's a guy that can do that. Now, another one is Jale Skinner for Boise State. People are starting to pay attention to a little bit more. Now we're getting towards the closer to the NFL draft and looking at the Senior Bowl. This is a guy who I think is really going to help himself at the Senior Bowl. He's going to showcase what he can do, and his physicality and his ability to make plays in both the run game and the pass game is really what's going to help him stand out and even maybe push him into the first round. If not, and for sure going to be a second round guy. Both guys are very fun to watch, very physical players, and are very confident in what they do. And the Senior Bowl is a great opportunity for them to help their draft stock.